Hey, it's Keto Dick here, and I want to talk to you about how to spend your carbs wisely. Too many people I see looking at carbs as a limit, and they say, well, I can eat this, it only has so many carbs, I'll have a few carbs there, and oh, this lovely dessert I made only has a couple carbs in it, so that's okay, it'll fit under my 20. Let's talk about what you really need your carbs for. Where you should, if you can, spend your carbs is that you should be looking to spend your carbs on vegetables. I know, right? It's so hard to get like some green beans or, even lettuce will have one carb in it. So what I need you to do is think about ways in which you can spend your carbs wisely. And what do I mean by spend your carbs? Well, I of course mean your 20 carbs a day. So, people that are saying, oh, you don't want to eat arugula or lettuce because those are pure carbs. Sure, they're pure carbs, but look at the bulk that you have to eat 10 carbs of red lettuce. That is a giant pile of lettuce. That'll help you with your satiation. But also there's like vitamin A deficiencies, calcium, magnesium, the electrolytes that people are talking about. Like things like spinach are a great source of calcium. So when you talk about people being on keto and being under 20 carbs, I hear a lot of people basically ditching the concept of a salad, or they say, oh, I can't do salad, I'll go over my 20 carbs for the day. So I'm going to go back to something I've said many times. A diet is what a person eats over a period of time. Not a meal, not an item, over a period of time, like at least a week. But I'd rather look at like a month. So if that's the case, and especially with keto, because in keto, the first 2 weeks you deplete all your glycogen, and then you starve to death while your liver picks up, and then eventually your liver can produce enough energy that you're no longer starving. So keto is not about a day or a meal. It takes weeks for what keto needs to do to get started. So when I see people talking about, oh, I've only lost 5 pounds and it's been 5 days, I understand why you're complaining on day 5. Days 3 through 7 are fucking hell. And just to pass the time, I'd go on Facebook and bitch about it. But it's not going to help you at all. So ketogenesis as a diet, it's referred to sometimes the WOE, the way of eating, because it is. It's a way of life. So if you're looking at being keto, not to lose 5 or 10 pounds, to those people in this forum, bless you. I love you. I hope you get your 5 pounds, but you guys are not who I'm here for. I'm here for the people that have been gaining 5 or 10 pounds for years and want to keep that weight off. They're talking about a way of life. So if that's the case, are you going to never eat a salad again? Hell no. It took you 2 or 3 weeks to become fat adapted. Breaking ketosis for a day is probably a great idea if you're 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in. And I don't mean for a cheat day, and I don't mean carb loading. I don't mean, hey, it's been 3 weeks, let me eat a big pile of mashed potatoes and a stack of french fries, and I'll feel like I'm back on my way. Not at all. What I mean is that every once in a while, especially if you're past week 3 or 4, if you feel like you have cravings for vegetables, those are probably legit cravings. Those are probably no longer like a carb addiction or a sugar addiction. You probably need some vegetables, something in there. I'm not going to know what. It could be your selenium for all I know. I'm not tracking everything that you eat. But the point is, you probably do need a salad at that point. Keto is a way of life. It's 10, 12 days out of 14. It's not every day, every meal. So by all means, if you're feeling like you miss your vegetables, if you're having weird cravings for carrot sticks when you see them, yeah, carrots are high in carbs. Carrots are also higher in glycemic index than a Snickers bar. So there are certain things that I'm not going to endorse eating a ton of carrots. But if you take a half a carrot and slice it thin, or slice it into matchsticks and add it into something and have a big salad, just make the salad heavy on the greens. Put in green beans. Yeah, they have some carbs, but they also have some fiber. I saw a thread just yesterday about everybody having keto poops, and all throughout the thread, I saw that people were having liquidy, inconsistent, constipated keto poops. Some people said mud puppies and all sorts of other gross words for it. It's funny, I get it. But at the same time, it is not the best for your gastrointestinal health to just be shitting all the time. Now, there is one other thing I want to talk about with keto poops, and that's your gut biome. Your gut biome is part of what keto aims to change. There are different bacteria. There's probably, I forget, I'm going to get it wrong, but I think it's 1 trillion actual organisms in your gut, combining your intestines and your stomach. But whatever, let's say it's 1 billion and I'm off by 1,000. That's still a lot of different organisms, and it's not one. It's not like you've got yeast and it's all yeast. Yeast is one of them, but there's many different types of microorganisms that live inside your gut. And when you cut the glucose, remember, your body can do ketosis. You're an amazing multicellular, multi-organed organism. We're talking about individual cellular items. Those cellular items aren't able to metabolize everything equally. Some of them do metabolize fat. Some of them do metabolize protein. Some of them, a lot of them, rely on glucose and starches. So when you deplete all the glucose and starches, you're going to shit. And a lot of human fecal matter is actually dead bacterials. It's the life cycle of the bacteria. And when those bacteria die off, they pass. But they've divided in cellular reproduction and so forth, so the bacteria is still there. But a good part of the poop that you poop out is dead bacteria from your gut. So, in the long term, if you're talking about having 6 months of liquidy keto poops, that is not healthy for your intestines. And you definitely need to not just limit your carbs, but look for fiber. And it may be worth having a 50 or 100 carb day to have a big quality salad. Now, I'm not saying break fast for 3 days, go off the diet. I'm not saying eat trigger foods that cause you to go back to addiction or carb cycling. What I'm talking about is nutrient loading. Every once in a while, and there's lots of nutrients in beef, and there's lots of nutrients in eggs, and there's lots of nutrients in some of this stuff. Not so much the MCT oil, not so much other pure oils. I mean, even olive oil is good for you, but there's a limit to it. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals that are not commonly found in meat products and oils. So to get those, you're gonna have to push those starches. I'd be comfortable with everybody in this keto forum giving themselves 25 carbs a day if 5 of those carbs had to be bulk vegetables, not fruits. Fruits are lovely, but there's the sugar content in fruits to the fiber content in fruits is so high that I probably wouldn't recommend a ton of fruits. But going back to what I said about being keto adapted, if you're past week 3 or 4 and you're fairly well keto adapted and you feel like you need some fruits, have a fucking banana. Eat it. Eat it. You're going to go back to ketosis. The other thing, for those of you following around, I'm going to wrap this video up and do other videos today. I'm going to try to do a couple. But the other thing to keep in mind when you're talking about whether or not you can eat a fruit after week 3 or 4, if you're fairly well fat adapted, to reverse fat adaptation, you need to store glycogen. You need to have glycogen on hand. And the human adult males, you know, I'm quoting males most of the time. I realize my audience is mostly female. Just decrease it 25 to 35%, you know, it's a little bit different, but males will store 700 grams of glycogen. And that glycogen processes just like glucose. It'll be about 4 calories. So if you have 4 calories times 700 grams, you've got 2,800 grams of stored glycogen when you start keto, before you become fat adapted, when you're early on, which is why day 3 is such a crash, because people normally burn through those glucose in 2 or 3 days of not eating their carbs, and then all of a sudden they don't have their carbs and they're not fat adapted yet, so they're not getting the ketone bodies and BHB they need at the rate they need it at because their liver's not ready for that. And they die. I got a friend on keto day 3 that's sending me text messages right now, and it's legit a miserable day. Day 4 might be worse. But once you're in week 3 or 4 and you have 100 grams of carbohydrates, there's no miracle way for 100 grams of carbohydrates as part of your metabolic needs that day is going to then get stored or become 700 grams. That shit doesn't happen. So what you have to think about is the fact that if you're in week 3 or 4, like I am, I'm not eating the calories I need to stay alive right now. I'm relying on my fat. My hunger's way down. I'm getting my protein. I'm no longer really eating all the fats that I could eat because I'm satiated, and I'm staying under my 20 grams of carbs pretty easily. So if you're burning all of the energy that you consume in the day, regardless of if some of it is carbs, you can't possibly store the glycogen. And if you don't have any stored glycogen, about 2 hours after a meal or 4 hours after the last time you ate, you've probably burned through all your glucose. You didn't store it as glycogen. It's gone. You're back to needing ketosis to stay alive. Now, if you break that 2 meals, 3 meals, 4 meals in a row, you go 2 days off, 5 days off, you decide, oh, the Christmas holiday from the 20th to the 27th, yeah, you can probably consume enough carbs over that time that you'll build back up those glycogen stores and your fat adaptation will start to melt away and you might have a little bit of transition going back. But that's not one meal. We're talking about you're 3 weeks keto adapted and you're missing the fuck out of a salad? Go have a salad. Put all your favorite microgreens and parsleys and all that super dense vegetative stuff, put it in there. Furthermore, for all of you people that are eating keto, just throw some arugula and spinach on your shit. You'll barely notice it. Mix it in with steak and gravy and you will never even notice it. I have a friend that's been putting spinach in her children's waffles since they were born. He's 4, he still doesn't notice that his waffles are different than his mom's. See? So just put some fiber in there if you gotta. Spend your carbs wisely. Don't save up all 20 carbs to cheat and have 5 potato chips or a piece of dark chocolate or something. Get your nutrition if this is a way of living for you. And especially don't deprive your body of everything that it needs. So spend those carbs wisely, please. Have a salad once in a while. Eat some green beans. Throw fat on them. Butter the shit out of your vegetables. Figure out how to do vegetables and cream sauce. Apply your olive oil and vinegar mixture very heavily. Yeah, somebody else in the forum on day 3, about 100 carbs, and now she's on 20 or less. She's not pooping a lot either. Being on that 100 or less, having done that taper, your fat adaptation process will get started a lot earlier. You've probably hit ketosis a few times. I only had a headache too, yeah. Yep, my buddy's had some headaches. I recommend maybe something like Emergency. Make sure you get your electrolytes in there. Make sure you're hydrated because a lot of you are ditching your sugary drinks to go keto and then you don't like water. If you've got to, find some sort of flavoring agent like Mio. Stay strong, day 3 people. Day 14, 18, 25, somewhere around there, it'll go way easier. I'm on day 35, I don't even think about food much. And I'm a guy that loves food, loves to cook. I mean, I got to 265 somehow. Alright guys, I'm going to make another video shortly, but this was very important that people need to talk about how to get their carbs. Before I go, one topic I had to cover. So, confusion, carb confusion. How many carbs? Net carbs, total carbs? What are you guys talking about? Alright, it's really simple. Insoluble fiber passes without digesting. It poops. It forms bulk in your poop. Insoluble fiber is great. We would love to have it. It doesn't count towards your carbs because you can't digest it, therefore there's no glucose response associated with insoluble or dietary fiber. And then there's soluble fiber. Also good, also necessary for being regular. However, it does partially digest, affect glucose, and have a glycemic index to it. So are we using carbs or net carbs, dude? Just give me my answer. I wish I could. At least in the United States, the FDA approved labels on the back of the box usually only list dietary fiber as a whole. They do not break down soluble and insoluble fibers. So because of that, there's no way to tell what your net carbs are. So you're basically forced to guess at those net carbs, estimate those net carbs, or look up some sort of online resource as to how many net carbs there really are. But if you look here, I'm going to try to get this in frame and see if you guys can see it. This is a jar of Metamucil, and it will just not come into focus for you. Alright, I'll try to post a picture of the nutritional label later. But the bottom line is that fiber supplement does break down what are net carbs. It breaks down your dietary and your soluble and insoluble fibers. But in America, We don't put that on the label on most foods. So when you say, oh, it's got 3 grams of fiber and 5 grams of carbs, that's 2 grams net carbs. Maybe. It could be mostly soluble fiber, so it could be all digestible. But I guess my final note on that is if you're worried about your carbs because they contain fiber and you're not sure whether or not to count them, those are the fucking right carbs to be eating. You go, girl, right? But if you're eating like sugar, like you're having a cough drop, there's no fiber listed there. There's no concept of net carbs. I endorse eating foods that have fiber in them, period. Even if it means that you might go over your fiber budget a little bit. And remember what I said earlier about carbohydrates. If you're active enough that you're burning off all your glucose, you're not storing it, therefore you're not reversing fat adaptation, you're just going out of ketosis. Going out of ketosis is fine. You'll lose that, like, the glucose, and then you'll go back to fat adaptation. And the ketosis processes in your body will keep up for the most part and will reignite very easily. But if you're just eating sugar for 3 days, you're having cough drops and ice cream and shit, and you're popping sodas, that's not going to be a good cheat. But if the food you're eating is confusing you because it has a bunch of fiber in it, that's good food to be eating, all right? And if you're looking at the fiber being half of the carbs or more, that's a great food to be eating. And I realize you may get a little bit more carbs than people are recommending. So if anybody gets in your ass about that, tell them that you want to see their source for 20 grams of carbohydrates. Tell them that you want to see the science behind why exactly 20. 20, for me, 6 foot tall, male, over 200 pounds, active in combat fighting. And if I have a 5 foot girlfriend that's 90 pounds, she gets on ketosis in the same 20 carbs? Not 23, not 18, not 19, not 25, 20? Science has a protocol. They define a diet as a certain way so that they can be consistent. When everybody looks at the same thing, everybody's looking at a 20-gram diet, not 23 and 27 and 22 and 18 and 15. But I've not seen any scientific studies that say we've tested ketosis at 50, 45, 40, and everybody's at 20. Given all of your activity levels, given any range of fat adaptation, given any standard diet that these people are on, that they all blow out of ketosis and reverse fat adaptation if they get 45 grams of carbs. I don't think so. So if you have a source for why exactly 20 and that 25 is some kind of problem, put it below. But if you're just kind of agreeing with me on this, like, look at your keto sticks if you use them. Pee on them. If you have 25 grams of carbs in a salad and a bunch of that was fiber, I don't know, how long are you out of ketosis? For me, I had a whole panini and a bag of chips, not the kind of carbs I'm talking about, and I was back in ketosis by later that night because I was well fat adapted. So, if you're living the lifestyle, not asking about cheats on day 3, but if you're already week 3, week 5, and you're like, man, I miss green beans in a salad, have some. Have a meal loaded with fibrous, hopefully primarily green carbohydrates. But I endorse a baked potato too. There's tons of vegetables in a baked potato as well. Maybe don't eat the whole baked potato, maybe split it, but there's definitely some deficiencies around all this food that we're skipping. So grab some of it from time to time. Spend your carbs wisely. Don't just say I only have 20 carbs, so I'm going to use all 20 carbs on frivolous, I'm going to have 4 Doritos today. Don't have 4 Doritos. Eat too many green beans. Just go over your budget on green beans, but make them awesome. And if you need to know how to make vegetables awesome, put oil in the pan, add your seasonings, maybe sriracha or sambal, shuffle that around, then add your vegetables, and then toss them in the flavored oils, and now you've got oily, delicious vegetables. Bacon grease makes vegetables taste awesome. Butter makes vegetables taste awesome. So butter the shit out of some vegetables. Maybe not all cauliflower and broccoli. Maybe green beans, oh no. Maybe a few carrots, what do you know? And you'll be okay. You'll be okay, I promise. And you might even have a nice poop. You probably miss nice poop. Even if you're losing weight. Everybody loves a good poop. Alright, now somebody posted a meme. Friends talk about sex and love, relationships, and their day. Great friends talk about their poop. Now we've had a conversation about poop. You guys are all my great friends now. See you later.